Towards the end of the 4th century AD, the throne of Funan was occupied by another Kaundinya. The history of the Lang dynasty has preserved the following story about this second Kaundinya. According to it, Kaundinya was a Brahman from Bharat. One day he heard a supernatural voice asking him to go and reign in Funan. He reached a place called Panpan to the south of Funan. The people of Funan cordially welcomed him and elected him their king. He introduced the laws of Bharat, Hindu manners and customs. This story points out a fresh band of Hindu settlers who arrived in Cambodia towards the end of the 4th century AD. In 434-35 and 438 AD, a successor of Kaundinya sent several embassies to China with presents. The history of the first Song dynasty, which gives us this information, also tells us that in the year 431 AD, the king of Champa, intending to overthrow Tonking, asked for military aid from the king of Funan, but the latter refused to help. Towards the close of Song period, King Jayavarman ruled in Funan. His family name was Kaundinya. For the purpose of trade and commerce, he sent some merchants to Canton. On their return journey, they were joined by the Indian monk Nagasena. But a storm forced them to land in Champa, whose people plundered all their goods. Nagasena somehow reached Funan and survived this attack. In 484 AD, King Jayavarman sent Nagasena to the imperial court of China with a long petition, the full text of which is given in the Chinese chronicles. After the usual compliments, it refers to the disastrous voyage of Nagasena and the merchants from Canton, in the course of which they were robbed by the king of Champa. It then refers to the glowing account of the laws, religion and the government of China given by Nagasena, which induced Jayavarman to send his humble presents and asked for the good wishes of the Chinese emperor. The petition then narrates in details how a rebellious subject of Funan named Kiu Cheu fled to Champa and organized a rebellion there. Ultimately, he made himself the master of Champa. He indulged in all sorts of violence and injustice, and what was worse, adopted an attitude of open hostility against the king of Funan, his original master. As Funan and Champa had a common boundary, King Jayavarman was naturally anxious and asked the Chinese emperor to send a force against Champa. He offered to help the imperial troops of China in their task of subjugating Champa and agreed to recognize any other person nominated by the Chinese emperor as the king of Champa. Even if the Chinese emperor were unwilling to send a powerful army to chastise the king of Champa, Jayavarman requested the Chinese emperor in that case to send a small force to help him in punishing the wicked king of Champa. In order to strengthen his case, King Jayavarman sent rich presents, including a golden model of the throne of Nagaraja, an elephant with white sandals, 2 ivory stupas, 2 pieces of cotton, 2 vases of precious transparent stones, and a betel nut plate made of shell. Nagasena proceeded to the imperial capital of China and gave an account of the manners and customs of Funan. The most interesting point is a reference to the dominant cult of Maheshwara. He also presented a poem in the praise of God Maheshwara, Lord Buddha and the Chinese emperor. The Chinese emperor praised the Hindu god Maheshwara or Shiva and condemned the wicked usurper king of Champa. But he then added the following lines: "It is only by the culture and virtue that I attract the distant people, but I do not like to have recourse to arms. According to the established convention of the government, I am referring the request of the king of Funan for military assistance against Champa to a tribunal. We don't know what happened next, but unfortunately no military assistance was given to the king of Funan. The Chinese emperor on his part presented a large quantity of silk of various colors to the king of Funan. In 503 AD, Jayavarman again sent an embassy to China with presents including an image of Buddha made of coral. On this occasion, the following imperial edict was issued: "The king of Funan, Kaundinya Jayavarman, lives on the border of the ocean. For generations he and his forefathers have ruled over that distant country of the south, and their sincerity is manifested by frequent embassies and presents. it is proper to show some respect in return and bestow a grand title upon him. Hence I confer the title, the General of the Pacified South, the King of Funan. In 511 and 514 AD, King Jayavarman sent another 2 embassies to China. There is no doubt that throughout his reign, a very cordial and intimate relationship subsisted between Funan and China. This is further proved by the fact that 2 Buddhist monks of Funan settled in China, whose works are still preserved in the Tripitaka. One of them, Shangapala or Shangavarman, knew several languages and spent 16 years from 506 to 522 AD in translating the various canonical texts in 5 different places at the command of the Chinese Emperor Wu. One of these was called Funan Kuan or Bureau of Funan. The name of the second monk was Mandarsena, who arrived in China in 503 AD and was commanded by the Emperor Wu to collaborate with Shangapala in the translation of sacred scriptures. In 514 AD, King Jayavarman passed away. His elder son Rudravarman, born of a concubine, succeeded him after killing his younger son born of a legitimate wife.